I almost missed it at first. Ripple quietly dropped a bombshell, and no one's really talking about it. But it could dramatically revolutionize the position of Ripple in the marketplace. While everybody's talking about XRP's price, and rightly their upcoming programmability upgrades, Ripple Labs quietly launched RLUSD, fully compliant, banked-backed stablecoin that's about to dramatically change their ecosystem. In this video, I'll break down what I think is Ripple's Trojan horse for bringing multi-trillion-dollar Forex markets onto the blockchain, at least without needing to even wait for fancy tech upgrades. This isn't just another stablecoin launch like we've seen over the past 6 months, but it's actually a key component for Ripple's XRPL ledger to be able to be useful for a lot of its customers, potentially even making it a go-to platform among institutional trading and Forex settlement. So let's dive into how this stablecoin in particular is unique and could unlock trillions of value in trading volume, and why more of the crypto community should probably be paying attention. So first off, RLUSD isn't just another USDC clone. This is more akin to the original Paxos stablecoin that's an NYDFS regulated, custodian issued, backed by secure cash assets stablecoin. The backing here can only be in real US cash equivalents in US banks, registered with regulators and checked on a regular basis. These are legally bound custodians. Ripple also has a VASP license, another set of monetary transfer licenses, and is looking at how to make sure that the coin is MiCA compliant in the EU, allowing it to be offered by EU exchanges and used by EU banks. This is something that companies like Tether have decided not to pursue in the same way. Ripple USD is going to be issued both on Ripple's native blockchain as well as Ethereum. Now, you might be thinking, if you're familiar with Ripple and some of its holdbacks over the years, what am I going to do with a stablecoin on Ripple when there isn't any DeFi? In the past year, Ripple has actually released a format for issuing tokens and for doing AMM swaps natively on the Ripple blockchain, but there hasn't been a lot of pickup. None of the tokens can be programmatic, and so tokens that exist are either meme coins or RWA assets issued by banks and financial institutions, sophisticated participants. These sophisticated participants don't want to have an AMM that trades against Ripple as the underlying currency. They want to be able to price their assets in the US dollar. And until the launch of RLUSD, that was something that wasn't possible. This stablecoin is going to unlock the ability for RWA assets, Forex issuers, currency issuers, and other programs to be able to price on a native AMM their assets in the US dollar. It's also going to allow Ripple to bring a lot of their overall liquidity on chain by incentivizing a Ripple XRP US dollar AMM pair. And this is important because all of that is sitting right now on exchanges where the exchanges are benefiting, and frankly, the US dollars sitting in those balances are opaque. But if Ripple can bring a lot of that on chain, they as a company can begin to benefit from the yield that comes in and putting that back into the XRP ecosystem. But even more importantly are two other factors. First, Ripple is launching programmability soon, both with hooks and a future EVM sidechain that will allow DeFi applications. They're going to need stablecoins as a part of this ecosystem, and rather than let anyone else capture it, such as USDC or USDT coming in and doing native issuance on the chain, Ripple is making sure they themselves capture it and can provide more value into the ecosystem. They're kind of doubling down on this by also having the RLUSD issued on Ethereum, getting Ethereum participants more familiar with Ripple's ecosystem and their brand before launching the EVM sidechain, which could allow them to tap into a large market that has previously not taken Ripple very seriously. But perhaps most important of all is the role that this actually plays with their target clients. For a long time, Ripple has really been focused on institutions. They want banks on board, they want financial institutions, they want Forex traders and brokers to use Ripple as an alternative settlement network. If Ripple is able to get their MiCA compliance approved and be offered in the EU and bring this stablecoin to diverse markets, to banks, to financial institutions, to exchanges, they have a great opportunity to get these providers to integrate Ripple's network by offering them on-chain yield and sharing of that yield. Small banks in the EU and globally would love the opportunity to be able to buy US cash equivalent yield-bearing assets that are custodied in US banks and interchangeable on a network. While Ripple has had their transfer network for a long time and is currently developing an ISO 2022 compliant version, they've had a really hard time getting it broadly adopted. And that's because the diversity of settlement and interchange just isn't there. Having the AMM in place, having this cash liquidity yield-bearing asset that they could share the yield on to these institutions, having this regulated in a way that it meets the deposit requirements of the banking regulators that approve the bank partners they're working with, this allows Ripple to actually go out and get the kind of clients that it's been wanting for the past 8-9 years. These are the type of asset issuers that care about RWA, real world asset issuance. These are the type of asset providers that care about Forex settlement and interchange. These are three of the biggest markets that we haven't really seen any other blockchain be able to cement their foothold in. There are trillions of dollars of settlement happening in Forex every day around the world from these banks, from these brokers and large interchange partners. Most of it happens over the phone. There's not even major traditional exchanges that have tapped into this. And the reason is that the banking system is too fractured for that settlement to happen fast enough. You have to go through multiple interchanging banks. If Ripple can successfully build a infrastructure where debt issuers and financiers and banks and deposit entities can issue certificates of deposits and debt instruments and cross Forex settlement all in one place while having exposure to a custodied, regulated US dollar cash bearing asset, that starts to become a really interesting proposition for this alternative market. And it can bring in the professional traders who want a piece of that real world asset, debt instrument, Forex, and interchange world, and who understand it. Now that gets away a little bit from their early versions of wanting to be a Swift network kind of competitor, but it is much, much more lucrative and much more complex. It's something that no one else in the DeFi space has the expertise or the interested parties or the tooling to be able to provide. And it's an opportunity that Ripple could be able to seize, building it off of this stablecoin. And that doesn't even get into the secondary benefit. We've got $140 billion of stablecoins out in the world right now. Most of that being $100 billion in Tether and $40 billion or so in USDC. With USDT not being approved for MiCA right now, there's this huge opportunity in the EU to become the second largest or third largest player in the stablecoin space. And as that space continues to grow, these companies sit on massive amounts of yield. For example, if Ripple was to issue the same amount of stablecoins as Tether does nowadays, they'd be looking at something like $5 billion a year potentially in yield gains. That massive amount of income would not only be captured by Ripple Labs and flow back into benefit for the Ripple ecosystem, but it would drive an incredible amount of on-chain demand that would likely mean the value capture far outweighs even the raw cash revenues that you're seeing. So I think Ripple still really needs hooks in their EVM sidechain to perform well, get the programmability in place to be able to offer more sophisticated DeFi products that aren't just natively baked into a chain. But having that stablecoin there and the unique regulation that it provides is the first big step in really realizing the vision, the long-term vision that Ripple has been pushing for a long time. And I think they're uniquely poised to capture a segment of the stablecoin market that we don't talk about or think about day to day in DeFi. And I think realistically, we used to meme about, Ripple $5, Ripple $10. These were crazy meme numbers. But when we start talking about the large opportunity in interchange, cross-settlement, debt instruments, and RWAs that Ripple could unlock here, these numbers really start to become realistic due to the values of these entire ecosystems. And so I think Ripple has a great potential path in front of it if it continues to execute on delivering the vision in the way that it wants to.